By now you've probably seen 1,000 videos on the internet that are showing you all of the comparisons between the Xbox One and the Xbox Series of consoles. You might even have one yourself, or could be waiting for stock to come back in. Either way, you should know that thanks to backwards compatibility and Xbox Game Pass, there is an incredible wealth of games available to play straight away. And a genre that hasn't been forgotten at all is racing games. So let's have a look right now at my top 10 racing games, the best you could say, that are available for the Xbox, both the Xbox One and Series X and S consoles right now. And if you're not an Xbox user and are looking for the 10 best racing games on PlayStation right now, then check out the subsequent video that's also come out alongside this one. Just subscribe to the channel to see more. So, in no particular order, here goes. Yes, this is an original Xbox 360 title. So this particular game is 2 generations old now. But coming at the end of the 360 generation, this mostly open world racer was incredible despite the technology limiting it. Following the Xbox One X launch, however, this also became an incredibly playable game, technically, and is still one of the best on the console, being able to achieve a good frame rate, 4K resolutions, and it still has a great selection of DLC and cars available to go around the Colorado landscape in. And if you catch it just right, the photo mode will give you some brilliant autumnal colours. So if you want to know where the Horizon series came from, this is where to start. And yes, the Rally downloadable content is still bastard hard. Don't try it. Actually do try it, it's still quite good. Fast forward 6 years from Forza Horizon, and Playground Games have given us what is quite possibly the best game in the Forza Horizon series. I know a lot of people think Forza Horizon 3 is the most graphically brilliant game in the series, but certainly it's one of the best open world racers ever created. With seasonal rotation, absolutely humongous car list, and one of the easiest entry curves of any racing game, as well as the sheer amount of downloadable content available. It's incredible, and one of the biggest points here is that this is currently a first party game that's free on Xbox Game Pass, which means it's free to play with the exception of the DLC, which you still have to pay for. As well as this, it's already received an Xbox Series S and X performance upgrade, as well as the Xbox One X performance upgrade. So there really is no excuse not to get into the virtual playground of the Northern United Kingdom right now and tear it up. Much like its Horizon spin-off, Forza Motorsport 7 is also jam-packed with cars, with tracks, and is also currently free for Xbox Game Pass users, and that includes Xbox Game Pass Ultimate on the PC. While it's not the best handling nor the most accurate game when it comes to sims, we kind of call them simcades, and to be honest, the UI is quite frankly awful. It is a game with multiple things in its favour aside from the fact that it's free now. It's the only game on the console with a wealth of US tracks that includes Sebring and Virginia International Raceway, which you can't get on any other game, along with a very good modern car lineup and an incredible array of older US road cars and racing cars that you won't see in any other game. You can't argue with free though, to be honest, can you? A caveat here, again, this is another game that is completely free to play if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, thanks to the recent integration of EA Play. The Need for Speed games have been divisive on this past generation of consoles because, well, sadly they weren't really all that good. I'm sure I'll have more to say on that soon, but Need for Speed Heat is probably the best in the series, especially graphically with Xbox One X performance enhancements as well. With the customization of the cars in-game being able to hark back to the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era of being able to put a massive wang on the back of a metallic orange car or anything like that, it's something more than the previous Need for Speed games, although I will say that Need for Speed 2015 is still a very good looking game despite it being only 900p and also have a horrible film grain filter. but that's also free. So really, what can we argue about? But if you're looking for a very good open world arcade racer that's got a little bit of a story to it, as opposed to running checkpoints and doing anything that Horizon does, can't argue really. I know what you're thinking. Are you just mentioning games that are free? Well, no, and here to prove it is another game that I absolutely completely love, and it is one of the best arcade racing games ever made. At me in the comments, that is a objective, not subjective viewpoint. Sega's Daytona USA was an early 90s arcade classic showing off the best of 3D gaming technology at the time. Indeed, it even went on to help build and create airplanes because of the amazing 3D technology that was invented. Now, this feat was only ever replicated in its original arcade quality over 15 years later, despite various ports to various Sega consoles over the years, with the Xbox Live Arcade version, which you'll be pleased to know is still available, is still on sale, and is completely playable on Xbox with its backwards compatibility across all of the consoles. And if you find the right community, online games can still even be had now. And now, halfway through, spare a thought for those games that didn't quite make this list but are still very good or worth your attention. Assetto Corsa Competizione requires patience and learning of its style and physics, but it is well worth it for the GT and endurance fans. Plus, now that the Xbox Series X has been released, it is now playable with a fairly decent-ish frame rate compared to how it released, but this is a game that is very much for the purists. Formula 1 2020 is still the pinnacle of Formula 1 games with a large multiplayer community and great classic cars, as well as a really interesting career mode. It is a yearly release though, and iteration is of course a slow process. However, Formula 1 2019 is currently free on Xbox Game Pass if you didn't want to shell out some cash for it just yet. Project Cars 2 and Project Cars 3 are probably still the best multi-discipline games outside of the Forza series for the Xbox consoles. I personally still prefer the much more simulation aspect of 2, with its tyre changes, pit stops and much more of an actual endurance race compared to the simcade feeling of Project Cars 3, but Project Cars 3 is still a very good looking game with great performance on the Xbox Series S and X, and it's great for those fans that want a cool new car choice but want a bit less sim about it. Mud Runner and Snow Runner are incredible, if not slightly niche, games of haulage and off-road traversal. Epic landscapes and a fun multiplayer do cure what is a bit of a lonely solo experience, but both are visually gorgeous. Dirt 5 and Dirt Rally 2.0. Dirt 5 should be on the list, but at the moment I couldn't bring myself to put it on there. With Dirt 4 on Game Pass and other stronger games, and Dirt Rally 2.0 being the master of classic cars when it comes to rally, Dirt 5 is at present a great showcase for the next generation of consoles, but maybe not all of them. And plus it's literally brand new, let's give it a little bit of time for the multiplayer to fill out and be a little bit more competitive. Hotshot Racing is an ode back to the incredible arcade races like we've already mentioned with Daytona USA, the pre-Model 3 Sega era, things like Virtua Racing and stuff like that. It is an enjoyable throwback to that style of arcade racer, and it is also free on Game Pass. It's not that deep though, so it might be a bit of a short-lived experience for you. Now, back to the main list. Now this game came very late in the console cycle, and you could argue that it's a bit too low res to be regarded as anything like the Ubisoft trial games, which is folly to be honest, because this game is brilliant. It's a challenging downhill cycling game with quick respawn action, an amazing replayability and a lovely art style that makes this one of the best solo games that I've played on the console in the last 10 years period. It's so much fun. To add to its allure, you guessed it, it's another game that's free on Game Pass as well. A DLC pack just came out as well, although it's still at a bit of a hefty price, but for the bone-crunching, bike-crunching, seat-of-the-pants time trial downhill racing, this is the game to get. As discussed in other videos, WRC9 is probably the best rally game available right now, certainly the newest. There's a great selection of countries, courses and modern cars that make this a challenging but enjoyable rally game with a great career mode and plenty of replayability. There's even an esports series if you fancy trying your hand against the best in the world. Why is it on this list though? Well, other than it being great, it's also forward compatible much like Dirt 5, and people who own it on Xbox now on the Xbox One receive a free upgrade to the Xbox Series version of the game, which boasts 4K visuals and 60 frames per second fluid performance. If you want to see more about WRC9, make sure you subscribe to the channel and see the WRC9 review that was released about a month ago. It might give you a little bit more of an idea about why we really like this game. It's a bit of a mouthful of a name, but this is the first game on this list that has 2 wheels as opposed to 4, and there's a good reason that this is on here as opposed to Ride, MotoGP, MXGP and Supercross, although all of those are great choices if you're a fan of those racing series and some of the bike history that Ride gives you. History, however, is best shown in the TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge game and its sequel, with an incredible recreation of the famous road course of the Isle of Man, quite possibly one of the most terrifying courses known to racing. This game in its first person view conveys the experience of utter fear that going around the island would bring to a normal human being at any speed, let alone the utterly mad racers who risk everything to compete on it at ridiculous speeds. A cursory career mode is included along with other UK inspired tracks, a new free roam section got added to the most recent version, and there's a good roster of classic and modern bikes, which makes it great fun, even if we are currently only running at 30 FPS at the moment on Xbox, but hopefully there'll be a bit of a performance patch in future. There isn't a racing game, inverted commas, that is as much fun as Wreckfest. With the nostalgic feel of Destruction Derby and some incredibly well realised, real-life inspired vehicles that border the reality of Volvos and the chaos of modded Volkswagens, Wreckfest is great fun. With 2 season passes now under its belt as well, private servers and everything from dirt, tarmac, tandem, arena bowls, ovals, 4K support on the Xbox One X and above, and tyres flying everywhere with some great destruction mechanics. Oh, and lawnmowers, yes, lawnmowers and a big harvester chasing you down. This is a game that's been well supported for a long time, and now it is still the best slice of chaos you can have online in a virtual car. It's great fun. Something old, something new. There have been a few remasters from EA in recent times, but the one that's still ticking all of the boxes for me is Burnout Paradise Remastered. Debates still rage on as to what the best game in this Burnout series is, but Paradise was the one that really brought the open world racing formula, killer soundtracks and epic crashes into the mainstream. And in true remaster fashion, a full 4K resolution with 60 frames per second performance, all of the game's DLC, means there is a hell of a lot of fun on offer here. It's definitely worth returning to Paradise City one more time, or if you haven't before. And yep, you guessed it, it's free on EA Access via Xbox Game Pass. So really, half of the games on this list that, if you are a Game Pass subscriber, will not cost you a thing. Can you say fairer than that? And that's my 10 best racing games available right now on the Xbox consoles, whether or not you are on an Xbox One S, One X, Original One, Series S or Series X. And who said that was confusing? These all have great value with Game Pass as well, and if you want, there's a few extra choices for you to spend your cash on as well. But do you agree? Do you disagree? Feel like there's something I've missed? Or do you feel like I've got it right? Even if you've tried one of these games for the first time and have some feedback on your old or new console and the experience, let us know in the comments. Please feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.